Good afternoon, everyone. 5:30 on a Thursday. It's great to be here, and welcome to all of you that are signing in. And today I'm going to be talking about crate training your puppy or your dog. And in the title of the video, I put yes or no. And I happened to go onto Google to have a look at crate training. And the first thing that came up was a sponsored ad by PETA. So, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. And it was a very emotional post about how bad crating was for dogs. So what I want to bring to everyone's attention today, Hygiene, is the pros and cons, or the yeses and the nos, and the do's and don'ts of crate training your dog or your puppy. Okay, because from my perspective, I have seen it is a very useful tool to assist, and particularly if any of you saw the comment or the photograph from one of our clients, Jennifer Lees. She posted a picture of her Rottweiler Racker lying in his crate. The door is open. He's had very, very intensive and extensive surgery, and it's my belief that if he was not crate trained, his recovery would not have been as successful as it has been. And it's because he was comfortable in there and he was able to cope with the confinement that was necessary to allow his body to heal. Okay, and to prevent him from injuring himself, his hind limbs were completely paralyzed, and he couldn't move. And if he had access to the entire house, or even to a room, he's a very, very big dog. It is highly likely that he could have injured those legs and been in a worse position. And so I do think that there is a place for crating or crate training. And so we're going to look at that. Okay. Hello, Eileen. Great, I agree. So let's just look at, what is crate training? And it's the process of introducing your puppy or your dog to an indoor kennel or a crate. And the introduction is such that the dog sees this as a safe and a familiar place. So it's his home. It's his den, in fact. Dogs come from wolves, and they all den. They all have this behavior to live and move in the den. And if you've watched any bitches that when they're whelping or just prior to whelping, they have this denning behavior. Okay, and so when you bring your puppy home, to provide him with a space that is his own, where he knows he's not going to be he knows he's not going to be interrupted. It's his place, I think, is a good thing, and it's of great benefit to the mental and well-being of your dog, despite what certain welfare organizations might say. So it makes use of the dog's natural instinct to seek a den or to use a den. So I think what we really have to look at in terms of using a crate is it is a tool to enhance the safety of your dog. In puppies, it can be used as a house training mechanism. So let me just go back. Let me just say the issues with crating a dog for me lie in if the dog. It is not there for you to close your dog in the crate when you go to work. And for 8 hours or 10 hours or 12 hours, some of us work really, really long days, he stays in the crate. That is an absolute no-go. Okay. It is also not there as a punishment. This area is his den. It's his safe place. And he should never be punished in there. And he should never be sent there as a punishment. Okay, so these things are very, very important in terms of using this area and this behavior as a positive. Okay, so yes, I absolutely agree. If the dog is going to lie in a crate in which he can turn around and stand up and nothing else for that length of time, then I agree it is cruel and it is a form of confinement. Eileen, thanks. We'll talk about the size in a moment. Okay, so why do we use it? I mean, just to come back to his safe place, my brother and sister-in-law had a very, very, very busy household. They had 6 kids, and they got a bull mastiff crossed with an English mastiff, and they knew he was going to be a very, very big dog. And he had a space in the kitchen. It wasn't a crate, but it was a box. It just didn't have a door on it. And he had 3 toddlers at the time when the puppy came. And they made it very, very clear that that crate or that bed or that sort of box was the dog's area, and that he had a right to defend it, and the children were not allowed to climb in there, and they were not allowed to encroach on his space. And in fact, there were times when I was there where I saw him reprimand the children like any adult dog, a well-socialized adult dog will reprimand a puppy. They kind of like look and maybe lift the lip a little. Maybe there's a low rumble. The puppy understands that. It's not aggression. It's like, this is my space. This is my boundary. I'm sorry. You don't belong here. And so he, although it wasn't crating in the sense that we're talking now, in fact, he had a den. And he knew it was his, and that got reinforced positively by the members of the family. Okay, so crate training and crating is very similar in that respect. So it can be used to house train your puppy. And that is because of the denning behavior. The pups are going to be less inclined to eliminate in their sleeping area. And so that brings us then to the size of the crate, because when you get your puppy, the crate should be large enough that he can get up, move around, and not be forced into a cramped position, but not so large that he can find an area in the crate in which he can urinate or defecate. And so the question is, okay, so we have to buy a small crate for a puppy and a big crate for when he's an adult. And no, you can buy a crate that is going to be an appropriate size for him when he's an adult, and you can cordon it off, or you can fill up a part of that crate space when he's a puppy so that that behavior doesn't happen. And having said that, no pee pads or newspaper or anything in the crates, because then you are creating conflict. Then he's going to have something there that he thinks he can pee on, and then it's not what you want. Okay, so it is used to house train puppies. It's also used to prevent destructive behavior. And so when you're teaching your dog that this is a safe place, we make use of toys, anything that's going to keep him occupied and positively channel the teething behavior or the behavior that you don't want. It also, if you are not able to supervise your puppy, and let's be honest, puppies can get themselves into some very tricky and dangerous situations if left unsupervised. And so if he is comfortable in his crate and you have to go out, or you can't, you have to do a Zoom meeting and you can't watch him, then if he's comfortable in his crate for 30 minutes, then he's going to lie there and he's going to settle and he's going to have his toys, and we'll talk about what goes in a crate. So it becomes a positive space for him. So it could be safety, okay? It stops him from getting into trouble. It becomes a refuge. And for dogs that are afraid of noises or maybe are a little timid, at least they know that there is a space to which they can go and they will be safe. And then once the dogs grow older, it's very easy if your dog is crate trained. It's very easy if you need to transport him, because now your dog can move very nicely into the crate and then you can close the doors, and it is a safe way of transporting your dog in a vehicle. And the other thing, as I've mentioned already, is post-operatively or post-injury. So when we look at Raka, his success post-operative was partly due to the fact that he was accustomed to being in a crate, and the other part of it was that he had a very pedantic mom who made sure that she followed instruction to the letter so that her precious baby could recover. So let's look at what type of crates, or what do they, how do we find them? So, they could be wooden, they could be plastic, they could be wire, they could be metal. Wire and metal, the same thing. So yes, any one of those. And then we've spoken about the size. So just be certain that it's not going to be too large, so that you're going to get the unwanted behavior. And then it's like, how do you do it? So from the start, I must again reiterate, I'm a vet, I'm not a trainer, and I'm not a behaviorist. Okay, but there are some rules. Hi, Jennifer. There are some rules to follow when teaching your puppy or your dog about his space and his crate. So first of all, do put blankets and soft things and comfortable things in there. I mean, I don't want to go and sleep in a place where I don't have my comforts. Look for warmth, particularly with puppies. I like the idea of music playing in the background. Where do you position it? Okay, so you don't want to put it in a part of the house where your puppy's going to be isolated, because he wants to be with the family. You're his new family. So you can't put the crate in a place that's in the laundry and then the rest of the family sitting in the lounge. So usually not in a high traffic area, but in a room in which the family spends a lot of time, but in an out of the way space. So I saw some really, really brilliant photographs of custom made crates on the internet. So you should go look for them. Under the central pieces in the kitchen, when you've got a central like hob or workspace, the crate is there underneath there, instead of having drawers for your kitchen utensils. So there's some really cool ideas. And then the dog is in the family, okay, but you're not going to trip over him with a pot of hot food or something. Thanks, Janka, for that. So Cope International has a guide on their website, which is really great. We do want water in there. Very often with the young puppies, they can whine a little, they can cry a little. When you're introducing it, first of all, just let him walk in and out. Throw some snacks in there, put a favorite toy in there. This is a place that he's going to want to go into. You're not going to throw him in there and shut the door and leave. Okay, so just be aware of how you're introducing it and what your long-term aim is with the crate. Let him have daytime naps in there with the door open. And as Eileen said earlier, and don't interrupt his sleep. Okay, if he's going to go in there and he's going to sleep, yes, you're on the way, because he's now already made the connection that this place is a safe place and I can go there for a timeout. So very often, I'm a firm believer that puppies need rest, just like children should have an afternoon nap. Not that I had any of my own, but I do believe that puppies need a break, and particularly if there's an older dog that doesn't allow them a break. If the puppy has a safe area into which it can go and the big dog is not allowed, it's a really, really good way of creating that balance and calm. So that's the other thing the crate does, is it teaches your puppy and your dog to move into a calm state and a relaxed state. And you might, for those of you who have Jack Russell Terriers or really wind-up dogs, you might think that that's not what you want. I have met a couple of Belgian Shepherds that are working dogs that in their early months when they were being trained, they were not allowed to relax. And I believe that we are seeing negative mental effects from not allowing those dogs to relax. Nobody ever taught them to switch off. And now they don't know how to switch off. And it's unhealthy for them, in my opinion. And maybe we'll talk about that somewhere else along the line. Use chew toys. And please, when your puppy goes in, no harnesses, no collars, no choke chains or check chains. None of you use choke chains. Nothing that is going to actually be able to hook onto the crates and strangle him in your absence. Okay, it can happen in the blink of an eye. So just be very aware of that. You can feed him in the crate, and then gradually you're going to, the first time you close the door, don't move out of the room. So he can still see you, but he can't get to you. And then close the door and leave the room and come back in 30 seconds. So these instructions you can find on the internet. And if you are taking your puppy to to puppy school, which I hope you are, or if you're also signing up to our puppy fitness course, which starts next week, which I also hope you are, then there are these should be covered in more detail than what I'm able to do right now, and you will have someone that is able to walk you through the process. Oh, this is happening. What do I do now? Okay, never, never, never reprimand your dog inside his crate. Never, ever. Okay, so, the other thing that you could use is pheromones or dog appeasing pheromones, DAP plugins and like Good Boy collars. So that pheromone is what what the mother actually secretes when the puppies are drinking milk. So pheromone is a molecule that works on the sense of smell, and we all know that dog's sense of smell is very acute. Way, way, way more sensitive than ours. And so by having this permeating in the room or on the dog in the form of a collar, not that you want him to have the collar in the crate, but you get plugins, this will assist to keeping your dog calm and the transition. In fact, I think they're a really good idea for new puppies when you introduce them to your home. Okay, be very cautious also with the positioning that in northern hemispheres, not near radiators or heaters or central heating units. In South Africa, make sure there's not a breeze. Look for, if you have air conditioners in your house, look for where the aircon blows. You don't want that wind blowing on your dog. So just be aware, and also be aware that you don't want it in a place where the dog can access an electrical cable, something that it can chew, a plant, something like a palm or whatever. It's amazing what they can actually get their teeth onto. So just be aware of all of these things. So I think that's pretty much all I've got to say. You've all added some wonderful comments here. No spill water bowls, large parrot bowl attached to the side so it can't be kicked or run over. So, those are really good ideas, because if you're going to leave your puppy or your dog alone for, even 10 minutes and it bumps it over and then it's bedding and whatever you've got in there is wet, that's not going to be a very pleasant situation. Samantha Vandenberg, my GSD is almost 15 months. Is it too late to crate train? Absolutely not. I think that you can train them at any time. And in fact, if I have dogs that come in here where we're going to do an elective surgery, in other words, it's not an emergency knee op or hip op. So hip dysplasia is one of those. We will often work the dogs to gain some muscle and some strength before they go for the surgery. One of the first things I advise is your dog crate trained? Yes or no? If it's a no, I say you now need to consult a behaviorist or a trainer to assist you over the next 6 to 8 weeks prior to the op to actually teach your dog how to be comfortable and unstressed in a crate. So it's not too late. No, not at all. Karen, stuffed Kong to keep them occupied? Absolutely. Yes, I love that. And we had a client, I'm not a big fan of hooves, but we had a client that used to fill hooves with yogurt and then freeze them. And then when the dog came here for its therapy, it had a chew that kept him occupied for the length of our session. So that worked very well. So I think you've gathered I'm a supporter of crates, but there are rules. There are rules to follow, like with everything in life. And the big thing is it's not an abusive system, never punishment. Be gentle and take your time. And every dog and every puppy is going to have its own framework in which it grows accustomed to the crate. Okay, so we can't say, oh, gee, I've had him walking in and out for a week already. I should actually, be shutting the door already. No, not true. Some dogs you'll be able to close the door sooner than others. Some dogs are going to be okay to leave alone sooner than others. And so this is also about how well do you know your dog? How well do you read the signs? What about calming signals? I did a talk on that. Have a look at all of that. Yes, Eileen, if an overexcited dog when visitors arrive lets the energy settle down, absolutely. And having said that, I have over the years had some friends with some very rowdy toddlers, and my dogs clearly are not used to small children, and to offer them a place where they're going to be safe, where the children can't get to them, is really, really brilliant. So you don't want to, like, I live on a small holding, like the kids go crazy here. You don't want to stop the children from having a good time by moaning at them all the time. And at the same time, the dogs would get quite wound up, my dogs, because they're not used to all the squealing and the excitement. Okay, think about a dog's natural tendency with those kinds of sounds. They may view it as prey. And so, yes, if your dog is crated, then he's not stressing about being separate from you, or trying to, jump down the door because he's separated from the family. He knows that's his place, and that's where he stays, and he's comfortable. Bridget, can two dogs share the same crate, same age dogs? I think that depends on what you're trying to achieve. Because if the two dogs are going to wind each other up in the crate, then that's not necessarily what you want. Okay, so I think you need to think carefully about what you want. And what I do sometimes suggest is, for example, I will often have, as we know, Dachshunds with back issues, and people who have Dachshunds actually usually have more than one. They completely dilly over the breed, and Dachshunds are loud, and Dachshunds fly off couches and all sorts of things. So if I have a Dachshund that's had back surgery and it's got to be crated, in those instances I might say, we'll create a playpen or some area where all of the 2 or 3 Dachshunds that are in the family can actually lay together. But I don't think that having 2 pups of the same age in one crate is advisable. And if any of the more experienced people that are watching can comment, that would be great. Great, Samantha. So yeah, I mean, drop us a line on Facebook and let us know how it goes. Okay, and if you need some help, I mean, Google it first, but most behaviorists and most trainers are now very familiar with teaching a dog how to be comfortable in a crate. So good luck. So I just want to check. I don't think there's any more questions. I'm just scrolling through if that looks strange. Great. Thank you so much for joining me. I will hopefully see some of you or all of you next week at 5:30. Great. Thank you very much, and have a fantastic evening and enjoy the hot weekend.